We must go to war with Syria and Bashar al-Assad. We have to depose the government and institute either a U.S. puppet government like we did in Iraq, because that worked well, or we need to allow the rebels to decide for themselves. Well, what exactly is Aleppo? Well, Aleppo is a city in northern Syria. It was an economic center for Damascus. That's the capital of Syria, where Bashar al-Assad controls the country. So Aleppo was a financial center of Syria, and the rebels in the Syrian civil war decided to take Aleppo to cripple the government. Well, it didn't exactly happen that way. They took about half of the city, the eastern half of the city, and then they proceeded to remain there under siege for like 4 years or so, because the Russian-backed Syria was a little bit stronger than they thought. They proclaimed that after they took Aleppo, they would march into Damascus very easily, but that didn't happen because 4 years later, they were still stuck there. 5 years later, really. So, what exactly is going on in Aleppo now? What's going on in Syria now? Why haven't we heard about these terrible human rights violations that justify the United States invading another foreign country in the Middle East and setting up another democratic government? Well, the reason is because Russia handled it. Russia and Turkey and Iran all agreed on a solution. It's called the Astana Agreement. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but that's what it's called. It's this agreement where they will each set up observation points around Aleppo and other hotspot areas of Syria, and they will all agree not to fight each other. They will agree to wind down on hostilities, encourage rebel groups to stop attacking. They will stop bombing, which was the biggest issue with Aleppo, because we heard about these rebel groups held up in Aleppo, under siege from the Russians and the Syrians. And so first of all, let me tell you a little bit about the rebel groups. I read a Washington Post article in which they listed a few rebel groups, and I'm like, okay, these names are interesting. I cannot hope to pronounce them, so I won't do that to you right now. But I Googled the first one, and it took me to the Al-Nusra Front, and it said also known as Al-Qaeda in Syria. So these rebel groups that are so valiantly fighting against the Syrian government are connected to the same group that we fought for 10, 12, 15 years in Iraq. So that's real good. We're supporting those guys. Some of the other... I Googled the second one that the Washington Post listed, and it said that they were fighting against the Syrian government and the group listed before them. So, which rebel group exactly would we be backing? Does anybody know? Because I don't know. So, anyways, the story we were told was that these valiant rebels were holed up in Aleppo, under siege from the Russians and the Syrians, and we had to do something. But it was a lie. It was a lie. These are bad people. These are bad hombres. These are not good people waging war. We saw footage of the white helmets going in and rescuing people. We heard propaganda from a Twitter account run by a young Syrian girl. She's only 4, and she's just tweeting out inspirational stuff all the day. So it was lies. It was lies meant to justify the United States intervening in a Middle Eastern country's affairs. Why? Why do they always do it? Money, power, military-industrial complex, etc. Another country in the area that might want us to do that. Who knows? Who knows? I will let you look into it and decide. But this is what they do. Because they always lie about something. They lie about it, try to get the U.S. to do something. Sometimes we do, like Iraq. But if they lie about it and we don't do anything, because Obama tried, Hillary would have gone to war with Syria by now if she were president, but thank goodness she's not. So they lie, and then whenever the lie doesn't work, it just goes under the radar. We never hold them accountable for their lies, trying to get us involved in another probably endless war in the Middle East. So I just wanted to bring this up to you today so that you could go, wow, I heard a lot about Aleppo. I heard a lot about the need for the United States to intervene in Syria's civil war and stop those damn Russians from bombing poor little children like the Syrian Twitter girl. That's all we heard. So I want you to think about that. I want you to think about the lies that you were told, and how now suddenly, now that Russia and Turkey and Iran and Syria have all agreed to wind down on hostilities without U.S. military intervention, just think about that. Think about how your government treats you, because the truth is now the population of Aleppo is about 2.15 million, I think. 800,000 people have moved back to their homes in Aleppo. That's almost half of the population has moved back into their homes. Would they be moving back into their homes if it was still all-out total war? I don't think so. Maybe they can handle their own business without United States military intervention. I don't know, just a thought. This is Jake Lloyd reporting for Infowars.com.
Infowars Life is bringing you a breakthrough in modern medicine. Introducing Pollen Block. We have found an extraordinary new, natural way to alleviate seasonal distress symptoms, including promoting clear nasal and sinus passageways, eye comfort, and respiratory function. In the 1960s, researchers in France noticed that people who ate certain quail eggs experienced less seasonal immune and inflammatory responses. They began studying this effect in published trials, and decades later, we now have the fruit of this research, a fast-acting, chewable tablet that helps alleviate seasonal distress symptoms. Pollen Block is natural and effective. It is not an antihistamine. In fact, current research has found that it actually acts by blocking the activity of tryptase, which is an enzyme that amplifies immune and inflammatory responses in the body. Go outside and enjoy the air you breathe. Head to InfoWarsLife.com and grab a pack of our Pollen Block chewable tablet.